challenge number 2 is a solutions showcase. And I spoke to Ebru on the phone the other day and was just blown away by what they are tackling, which is AI voice in production. And Ollang helps organizations build intelligent, natural-sounding voice experiences that enable more human conversations. And I think you're going to learn a lot from Ebru's presentation. So thank you for joining us to take the challenge.
Yeah. I think it's here. Yeah. Think about the last major video campaign your company launched. Maybe a product release, maybe a marketing campaign, maybe internal communications video, earnings call, investor relations, or a customer education series. Now I want you to think about the formats that you had to manage. Accessibility, vertical, wide screens, maybe subtitles or dubbing, or many other things. Now I want you to multiply that by 10, because that's where we are heading. Hello everyone, I'm Ebru, CEO and founder of Ollang, and today we are going to be talking about localization challenge within enterprises. It's not a secret by now that every enterprise is becoming a media company. I'm sure we all heard of that. And that's not because every company is trying to become Netflix, but because video has become the major component within the enterprises. If you think about critical functions within the enterprises, like product, they are using video in order to explain complex technology. Or if you think about marketing, they are creating videos to reach more audiences across the world. If you think about R&D departments, again, they are explaining their papers through video or talk about it. And then, as we understand, companies are tackling more and more challenges that are brought by the video. If you look at this, we can understand that customer educational clips, social clips, events, live streams that we are doing, or internal communications, supporting content in order to explain our product better. These all create parts of the enterprise video content. Content has become more and more important, and video content has become incredibly important in these. And these all bring us some more complicated issues, like it brings more file formats, or it brings more languages, or more platforms that we have to launch, or more deadlines that we have to catch up. And speaking of which, this is where companies are taking video more importantly, because in the end of the day, they all want to go global. Growth is the backbone of why we are creating content and video content. In order to grow, we want to access more audiences. We want to access more languages. We want to grow our revenue by explaining our product better. And while we are doing that, if we do not understand the importance of language, unfortunately, our reach becomes more and more restricted. So in the old days, people were always thinking localization as the afterthought. Somebody was creating content, sales, or marketing, or product, and after that, somebody demands localization at some point, and more languages, more file formats, and this is where people were introduced the complexity of managing the languages. And while doing that, it becomes complex because they have to manage a lot of formats, and they have to manage fragmented vendors, and they have to manage human-in-the-loop process because quality is an important part of what we are doing in localization. And then obviously there are some human checkpoints in the process where we have to include some people to edit the content. And then brand compliance, security risk is another important point because, again, sometimes there are these product launches that nobody knows and you have to tackle, so you have to protect these things. And you want to reuse the terminology, the brand guidelines, and most of the instructions that you have used in your previous videos and how you can use it at scale. This is why we believe localization is becoming infrastructure rather than a service within the enterprises. Because in the next stage of the growth, companies will think localization as the backbone of their growth components. You can basically localize your videos into 240 languages on the fly through live stream or pre-recorded videos to access more reach. In the old world, it was more about the service layer, as I have mentioned. We were sending files to each other between the departments, somebody was checking, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. It was extremely costly, it was not scalable, and it was very operational. Whenever we put localization as the infrastructure layer, it becomes part of our media stack within the enterprises. We create a video, right away we can do it in more than 200 languages, and it helps us to reach our audience, to reach our target. We can manage routing human-in-the-loop process whenever and wherever necessary. And most of the enterprise companies, they have their own brand voice. They have their own custom instructions. They have their own guidelines for different types of jobs, for accessibility, audio description, subtitles, AI dubbing. Don't say this while doing the press release, or don't say this while doing the marketing communication, etc. So now AI agents need to preserve these rules and guidelines in order to make it in the quality that enterprises are demanding. And we have to deliver platform-ready assets for every of these languages and reuse the intelligence wherever and whenever necessary. As I have mentioned, video is one of the most demanded content types right now because the audience is demanding it. But at the same time, video is one of the richest and most complex content types. And this is why, while we are building the Ollang platform, the tech stack, we have to make sure the agents understand the master feed, they ingest the data, they route the agents between different frontier models to get the best results across different types of jobs and order types, and they make it ready for the global delivery. So my talk is all about localization because I am biased that localization will be the next thing for the growth of the companies. Media or not media company, it doesn't matter. If you want to grow, you have to think about it. If your audience doesn't understand your language, your asset becomes something which is not used efficiently. So we have to figure out a way to make sure our content is reaching to the right content, to right audiences across the world. And this is why we have developed Ollang, the platform. And what we are doing here is making sure agents are working collaboratively and individually. And then these agents can understand the intent of the content that we created. If you think about it, training content do not have the same intention of the marketing content. One tries to explain the product, whereas the other one is trying to create the reach and create the creativity. And then the quality agent makes sure that your content is ready for your brand and enterprise guidelines. And we have to make sure that it is fast, it is scalable, and it's ready for the world. Over here, I would love to show you very quickly how the platform works. So over here, as you can see, agents are creating the custom instructions within the platform. And then they create a memory. If you have your previous memories or translation memories, you can bring it to the platform. You can create for different titles, or you can create for different product launches, or investor relations or communications. You can create different workflows for different types of jobs that you want to manage. And integrations are an important part of what we are doing. You can launch your campaigns on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or whichever platform that you are thinking of. And whenever you come to the project section, it needs to be easy and simple so that you can invite your departments and they can come and they can get involved in the process, approve, manage, control whenever and wherever necessary. And while doing that, we wanted to make sure that it is extremely simple to understand, but at the same time, you can run it on auto function. You can just let the agents do the things on behalf of you, and you can just come in and control whenever you want. Sometimes it's a voice that you want to change. You want to make it more energetic, or you want to make it more educational. You want to make it more vivid, or sometimes it's the brand terminology that you want to use differently, or sometimes you just want to make it shorter, or you want to explain it better. All is extremely simple within the platform, and most importantly, it can be automated. That's the beauty of it. So you can also invite your team members at Human in the Loop process, rerun, create music and After Effects files, and all of these things are made extremely simple, because why not? With this, the purpose of Ollang is to enable growth to the enterprises by giving them the necessary tools and functions, thanks to the AI that is brought to our world. You can do 240 languages within the platform on the fly. You can, at the same time, manage more than 100 file formats. You can get your results 5x faster than anything else in the industry, and you can get 6x cheaper by means of cost. So that makes things even simpler to give decision. So every language, every format is supported on the fly, and all for the growth of the enterprises. And we also believe that enterprise-grade security is an important part of what we are doing. And this is why we have the SOC 2 compliance, HIPAA, or all the necessary security and compliance things that your enterprise might think of. Language was more a backbone function of the companies, but now we are turning into an infrastructure layer where we can enable faster, scalable, and cheaper growth for the enterprises. Thank you very much for listening. I'm more than happy to take your questions.
Question? Any questions? Here we go.
So having done multiple projects in multiple languages, there are significant variances in length. So for example, a video product that we might do for a client, an educational video or marketing material might be 1 minute long in English. That would translate to about 1.5 minutes long, 1 minute and 15 seconds in Spanish, and 2.5 minutes in Cantonese. How does your product address that? Especially because that may actually require re-editing of visual media. Is this integrating with something like Premiere or no? And in addition, well, I have a second question after that.
Absolutely. I love that question. I started my career as a linguist, so I was a translator myself. And as you can understand from my accent, I'm not a native English speaker. So I speak Turkish is my native language, and I speak French and English. And every time that I was assigned a task by the translation agencies, I had to go through these problems and then sometimes paraphrase it, find what is important, what is the intent of this text or video that I'm localizing, so that I can stay faithful to the original meaning of the source context while making it creative in the target one. So we had to do a lot of things like paraphrasing or finding the synonyms or shortening, etc. Within the platform, agents are taking care of this. So you can auto-run an agent in order to make sure it is complying to the original timing of the source content. Or if you say, you know what, I didn't like this paraphrased version, you can just intervene and then you can just do it manually. And most importantly, some of our partners are bringing their human in the loop process, which is their internal approvers, and then they can just guide how to manage this paraphrasing action. But generally, running the auto agent to manage the timing is one thing that we offer within the platform. if you have a place where you are creating your videos, we can integrate within that tech stack, which is extremely powerful. And then again, you can create your custom instructions, and then again, we can run it on the fly within your own tech stack. So nobody has to go through the UI, which is like sometimes it's another challenge. So Ollang can run within your own tech stack and do the things that you want. Does it sound
So
clear?
by tech stack, you mean Premiere?
Correct. You can connect it to Premiere or 3D or TikTok, wherever you are creating your content.
Okay. And then the second question is idioms and other things that just don't translate. How is the agent notifying us? And does this process, I'll just say this. I think inherently this process has the potential to make the English version or the originating language version higher quality than the other languages, or especially the accessible versions. We're seeing clients who are asking for visual narration for audiences that have limited audio narration for audiences that have limited vision capability, lean more and more on AI voices. And I've sort of been arguing that people with disabilities don't deserve to have a less impactful human voice. And so I'm concerned that this may have a challenge in that sense, that there may be translations that the agents are doing that are actually inaccurate, problematic, aren't addressing idioms because idioms don't really translate, aren't addressing nuances of language. Is there some way to have the agents flag those things specifically for human review?
That's a very fair question. So let's unpack that question, because there are different components in there. One component is idiom localization, or let's say culturalization, where there are things that you cannot translate. How do you find it? The second thing is like finding the right voice, which gives the emotional impact that we want to create. The third component is how do we make sure it is in the high quality, so it doesn't overlap with the original speaker, so it's right, fit it into the right timing, etc. And the fourth component is understanding from the video context, understanding what is important to deliver, especially in audio descriptions. So long story short, we have different multi-agents running separately for each of these items, because it is nearly impossible to create one single agent and to do everything all at once. This is why within the platform, we have different agents running all at the same time. 10 agents can run at the same time, and they're all tackling different parts of the problem, and they are not working with the same frontier AI models. There are more than 100 models out there right now. Some of them just to understand the video, some of them to generate voice, some of them just to localize, etc. But most importantly, how do you guide them to create the things that you want? As a linguist, I was trained to localize and to create the impact. So that's what we are teaching to our agents. And until now, we have been delivering extraordinarily good results, especially for audio description, because that's something that you have emphasized. I want to emphasize that we've been working with amazing customers in the field of education to deliver that one. And then all the time, human in the loop process is available within the platform. So yes, it is AI native platform, AI first, but also we understand the importance that as humans we bring there, right? You can create perfect thing, but still there is that thing that I want to change. So still you can manage that. But multi-agent, multilingual architecture that we have built is the solution that we are tackling that. Hope that answers that question. Okay. Thank you.